Step into the world of Founders Dinner. Stories of entrepreneurial wins, losses, and lessons. Where the essence of entrepreneurship is unraveled in its most authentic form. Stas Balanevsky serves as your guide on this journey of discovery and inspiration. In each episode, Stas brings together entrepreneurs from diverse backgrounds to share their stories. It's not just about their victories, but more about the resilience and adaptability they've shown in the face of adversity. These narratives are more than just stories. They are lessons in courage, determination, and the relentless pursuit of success. So whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur, dreaming of launching your first venture, or an established business leader seeking new perspectives, Founders Dinner is your invitation to explore the transformative power of entrepreneurship. And now, without further ado, let's welcome the host of Founders Dinner, Stas Balanevsky.
Welcome to the Founders Dinner podcast. I'm your host, Stas Balanevsky, and I have the pleasure of having Seth Greene as my guest today. How are you, Seth?
I am fantastic. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Thank you so much for coming. I mean, it has been really nice getting to know you over this last year or so, and I'm thrilled that you're here, and let's jump right into it. Can you please walk us through your entrepreneurial journey? Sort of who are you, where you been, where are you now, where are you headed? Give me the Seth Greene story.
All right, I will try and do that in a succinctly as possible because I could spend a couple hours on that answer. So I started out as a college financial aid negotiator. That is my original career, was calling schools and getting them to give my students and their families more financial aid they didn't have to pay back, more grants and scholarships. And the Fortune 500 company I went to work for several decades ago before the internet handed me, literally, my branch manager handed me the phone book and said, "They're all in there, Tiger, go get them." And I didn't know any better. So I made 300 cold calls a day, interrupting strangers, asking for money. And I absolutely hated making cold calls. I loved helping people, but I hated making the cold calls. So there were 6,700 reps at AG Edwards at the time. And I was dead last. I was 6,700th because I was new. I had the good fortune to find legendary marketing guru Dan Kennedy. I begged my wife for 30 days in a row to borrow more than our house to go work with Dan. After 31 days, she finally said yes. And within 2 years, I was in the top 30 nationwide. I was competing against guys who had been in business twice as long as I'd even been alive. I was this young whippersnapper. I got written about in every trade journal in my industry. And financial advisors started calling me because they had to find a Yellow Pages in Buffalo to find my number, or an AG Edwards. There was no internet back then. They had to physically go to the library. Like, they had to do some work to call me. They couldn't Google me. And they started calling me saying, "Hey, how do I do what you did?" And I faxed Dan Kennedy and I said, "Dan, what do I do?" And he said, "You start a marketing company and do it for them." So 17 years ago, the same year my son was born, our first child, my wife quit her job to be a stay-at-home mom, had a baby, and I left the Fortune 500 company and that job security and started both my own college financial aid firm and Market Domination LLC.com, the marketing firm we're probably here to talk about today, right at the same time as the subprime bubble burst in the market and the economy collapsed.
You sound like all of my awesome entrepreneurial friends, where you're like, you know what? We're not just going to blow up one thing. We'll blow up 5 things, and then we'll just make it work.
Somehow.
What an origin story. So, I mean, I know where you are, but give me a sense of where Market Domination is now.
Sure. So it started out as just me and one financial advisor I was willing to let license my marketing stuff 17 years ago. Now we have an awesome team, depending on how you define it, of between 20 to 43 people who work here. We've helped thousands and thousands of businesses. So half our business is in financial services, but we branched out into, over the last 17 years, 63 different industries since then, because the principles of the marketing we do work no matter what industry you're in. So we've helped thousands of clients in time zones all around the planet. We have an awesome team. We've got offices in 6 states. We're on the Inc. fastest growing privately held company list. I've written 9 best-selling books along the way. We've generated almost 2 million podcast downloads. And I'm the only person now that Dan Kennedy has ever nominated for his very prestigious Market of the Year award 3 years in a row.
Wow. That is amazing. In the 2-horse race of who is the best marketer from Williamsville, New York, named Seth, I would say you are in the lead.
Well, thank you very much. That's very, very flattering.
With all due respect to the other Seth. But clearly, you are on a tear, right? You're on the Inc. list. You're growing like a weed. You're doing great things. You're helping lots of people. What's the future hold? Where are you pointing these ship?
I think that there will always be something new. The world of business, marketing, and communication changes every single day. There's a new social network and a new app, a new thing all of the time. Obviously, the biggest development in the last 12 months has been the explosion of ChatGPT, and now suddenly everybody's familiar with AI. We had been using it a long time before ChatGPT came out, but now everybody knows it. Almost everybody knows about it. I think where we're headed, you're our EOS implementers, so our VTO, our 10, 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, 10-year targets. We would love to be doing millions of downloads and hundreds of thousands of relationships created every single year for our clients to help them grow their business.
Amazing. Yeah, it's funny, right? As your EOS implementer, I watch you build this business. And then also as a client, I watch what it feels like to be a client. And it's really nice to see how those connect, because what you do and what you want to do are the same thing. And it's very, very real. So speaking of very, very real, as you know, as an entrepreneur, you don't learn a darn thing from winning. So I'd like for you to tell us a story. I want you to tell us about a stumble, a misstep, a wrong turn that you took on your entrepreneurial journey.
Sure. So our biggest misstep. So my wife and I had, at the time of this story, about 11 years ago, we had just had our 3rd baby. So Max, Ella, and Lily was our 3rd, and we were busting out of our starter house, and we were shopping for a bigger house. And we wanted to switch school districts. We wanted to be in Williamsville, where we both went. And my wife is shopping for houses. At the same time, I had spoken at a local event, and a gentleman who is, you would know, because he is an owner of one of the largest regional personal injury law firms in our area, came to that event, heard me speak, started a conversation. And for 9 months, we went back and forth and ultimately came up with a proposal of what we were going to do to market what he wanted to do. And this proposal, he would have become our biggest client and the lion's share of our business. It was a 6-figure contract with 7-figure performance incentives. It included free office space in the building. It included, it was a dream come true. And we were looking for houses, and he said he was signing. They said they were hiring us. And so I had my wife shopping for houses in a price range that included that multi-6-figure starter check. And we have our final meeting on a Friday. They say, send us a contract. We'll get you the contract signed and a check on Monday. My wife is like, can I put some offers in on some houses? I'm like, go for it. She's putting offers in on houses that are out of our normal price range. Thankfully, we got outbid on every single one of them. Monday, no contract. Tuesday, no contract. I'm shooting emails. I'm shooting text messages. I'm leaving voicemails going, hey, just wanted to make sure you got that email. Wanted to make sure you saw that contract. DocuSign didn't exist back then that I knew about. So I'm just sitting here waiting for a scanned PDF to come back. And week go by, 2 weeks go by. I'm getting really, really nervous. I had made the mistake of, because for months we had been moving towards fruition and they had committed, they were doing this. We just had to fine tune the terms. I had recruited, interviewed, hired employees. I had started building processes to do what they wanted. I had trained, and they were sitting around waiting for the work to come. And finally, 30 days in, my wife is like, no, I got to start. We had lost a couple bids, but there were more houses. And I said, no, don't bid on any more. And she's like, what are you talking about? I need to go get a house. We're going to keep losing houses. So I took a day off. I canceled my 8 meetings. I grabbed a book. I drove to their office. I sat in the lobby and I said, I'm here to see so. And the receptionist said, do you have an appointment? I said, no, but I can't get a hold of the part decision maker. It's been 30 days. I'm going to sit here all day until I get an answer. Right? I got nothing to lose. It's been 30 days. I got no contract. She goes off in a huff, goes into the back, comes out 5 minutes later, changed her mind's not going to do it. Sorry.
Oh my God.
I had to call my wife and say, honey, I got to, we need to talk. Not getting divorced, but I got a problem. She said, she had no idea. She's like, I will go drop the kids off at my parents'. I will meet you at home. She stopped at the liquor store. She met me at home with a bottle of whiskey, a very nice wife. And I said, listen, I was screaming in my car at the air going, I am so sorry. You can't buy a house in that price range. And I don't have this money coming. And I got people that I hired that I'm paying and I don't have the work.
Oh my God.
So that was probably one of my biggest challenges.
Yeah, I would say. I think there are two lessons here. One is sort of a statement of agreement. An awesome wife is one of the most important things for an entrepreneur, because I think you and I are in the same boat where we blow stuff up and we have a woman at home that goes, yep, that's okay, which is super powerful.
Yes.
But let's start unpacking this gargantuan lesson, because I'm sure that there are so many people that leave that final meeting that are like, I got this, and they don't got this. So quantify, like, I understand it was a 6-figure deal, 7-figure upside, but quantify the hard costs for me. Like, how much money were you out with getting the staff, getting them trained, and having them parked?
Again, thankfully, I had only hired them like within, let's say, the last 2 months. But I had also, all my fault, taken my eye off the ball. I was so focused on winning this gargantuan contract that for a long period of time, I scaled way back on other marketing, turned away other clients who were into, because no, we're not going to have the bandwidth to support you because we're going to spend all our time, half our time doing this every day. Probably a 6-figure mistake.
Yep. So what'd you learn, my friend?
Oh, so much. I learned, don't spend the money till it hits your bank account. Don't count your chickens before they're hatched. Don't hire if you don't know for sure you don't have the money coming in. No one's promise means a damn thing until the contract is signed. And then it doesn't even mean enough until the check clears. Because we've also had people who signed contracts and then changed them, before we learned to include payment information on the contract itself.
Great.
We just signed the contract and then send me a check or get me your payment information. And then they flaked out before they actually paid. So I learned you got to get a contract. Contract itself doesn't mean anything unless they actually pay. And don't spend money you don't have in advance because you think it's coming, both in your business and in your personal life.
Right. And another lesson that I would like to add to that is never, ever, ever stop BD.
Yes.
Ever. I've made that mistake myself. I had a deal that was going to be a career transition out of a couple of careers ago, and I just took my foot off the gas completely because I was positive I'm moving on to this next thing.
Yep.
And that next thing never materialized.
Been there.
Yeah. But it's interesting. You say, make sure you get the check, but then your DocuSign now has routing number and account number in the DocuSign.
Yes.
Which allows you to pull the funds immediately. That's genius.
Well, thank you. Hard lesson learned.
None of this stuff comes from like sitting around pondering atop the mountain of success. I wonder how else I could do this. It's funny. A friend of mine used to say that there are reasons why certain activities are written into users' manuals.
Right.
Someone did it. Someone did it. And then someone said, okay, well, we got sued for that. Let's get rid of it.
Yes. Excellent point.
All right. So you've learned the lesson. Give me a story about now how you've applied this lesson of don't do anything until the check is cashed. Get the routing number and account number in the contract. How have you applied that lesson? And tell me some stories about some wins that you've gotten as a result of that skill.
Okay, so we've had people since then go, I'm an old-fashioned guy. I do business on a handshake. They say, that's great. Doesn't count. Sorry, need a contract. It's funny. Our original contract was like 2 pages long, and I wrote it myself. Don't do that. Our next contract, we had a client who was a former C-suite executive at a Fortune 500 company who had left and was now starting a new business and said, I can't sign your 2-page contract. I'm used to being at a Fortune 500 company. I need this contract written by, I'll pay for it to be written by my lawyers and for you, and you can use it from now on so I can sign it. And I was like, fine. And then we had that's great. That's really nice of you. And then we had a 14-page contract, and people were like, this is crazy. I don't want to sign this 14-page contract. And then I've had people say, I don't need a contract. I've had people say, don't need it to be this long. I've had people say, you got to use my contract and my lawyer. And we've had people who said, I don't want to put my payment information on the contract. Just invoice me and I'll pay. Learned that lesson once and then said, now you're making me a billing department and I got to chase you every month. And you swore you wouldn't let me chase you and I'm chasing you. So I think how we've turned it around, we realized later that firm was going to be more than 50% of our client base and our landlord. And God forbid, had anything gone wrong, we would have been out of a place to work. This was way before Zoom. So we would have been out of a place to work and out of a lot of money. So thankfully, it's probably a good thing we didn't get that contract anyway, because our business diversity leads to stability. And we've learned, don't let one client be that big a chunk of your revenue. Now, have we fudged that rule once in a while? Sure. Do we have somebody who's maybe close to 10%? Yes. But we don't have someone who's 50, 60% and could send us into a giant tailspin with one change of their mind. Another lesson I've learned is it's very frustrating. I don't know if you've ever experienced this. I think we should always do the right thing. And I think we need to hold up to everything in the contract and over deliver what we promised. Mm-hmm. And clients don't think they have to abide by that, which drives me crazy. They think, I guarantee you, if we said, we're going to take your money and then we're just not going to do anything, they would run screaming to their lawyers and sue me and say, I paid, you signed a contract, you have to deliver. But they think they can change their minds anytime they want. They can, hey, can I just stall for a couple months? Hey, can I not do anything? Hey, can you change this? I'm like, what was the point of the contract if you think you don't have to follow it?
Right.
But still drives me crazy.
It does. But, that's a slippery slope, right? It's feature creep and it's contract enforcement. So what do you do?
So we're always working on this. So we just had this issue where I had one of the client opened additional locations of their business, asked our team member that was running their traffic to do those locations too. That team member just said yes. And then 30 days later said, hey, did we invoice them? And I said, for what? They said, oh, they added additional locations. I said, who was going to tell me? When were you going to tell me? How long have they? Oh, I've been doing the work for the last month. Like, you let 30 days go by and we haven't paid them. And then I said, hey guys, you owe us money. And they're like, no, he just said he'd take care of it. I'm like, no, he forgot. It's his mistake. He didn't tell me. And I have now trained the staff. Anytime someone asks for something extra, you got to tell me so we can say this is how much it's going to cost.
Right.
And then in regards to clients obeying their end of the contract, we literally just built, and our next new client will go through this process. We have a client onboarding process, but I built a separate video series of 6 or 7 videos of here's the timeline, here's what you just bought, here's how it's going to work, here's what you have to do, all of the issues we've run into over the years of pushback, and it made it in our project management system. So every client has to certify now that they've seen and agree to the terms in each video. So it's not just that they signed and initialed everything on the contract. Now, the same day, they go through this video sequence, certify that they watched and understood every video. So now if they say, I don't remember this, or I don't know about that, or can I change that? We can say, not only was it in the contract, but you watched a 7-minute video explaining it and said you understood it. So you can't claim you just initialed the contract and didn't read it. So we'll see what happens when the next client, hopefully this week, starts going through that process.
That's really awesome.
We'll find out how awesome it is. I think it's awesome. We'll find out how awesome it actually is.
Well, the world of reading is going by the wayside, right? Do you remember when Vines came out and everyone was like, 6 seconds? Are you kidding me right now? And now you're seeing 6-second ads on network TV.
Yes.
It's wild. So people love video.
Yes.
And you found a way for somebody to basically acknowledge that they watched the video?
Yes. So our project, that's a whole separate thing that we're going to talk about spinning into a separate company. The software that we built to run our business that tells my team members what to do every day for every client and make sure they do it right without me micromanaging the process. I said, what if we could build one of these for clients? It doesn't have to be every day, but like our team members have to certify it's in the blockchain. They can't change it. They have to certify that they understood what to do for this step. They know they're doing it. They're going to go do it. And then that they actually did it. And then someone checks to make sure they did it right before they move on to the next step. I said, what if we could use this for clients just to make them say a second time, yes, I really, really understand what I just enrolled in. And I promise I will do what I said.
That's really cool. So I figured it was a proprietary piece of software.
Yes.
There's nothing like that commercially available. So, wow, shocker. Yet another entrepreneurial venture by Seth Greene.
We'll see. Yes, we're working on in the next month or two, launching that as a separate company.
So talk to me about feature creep in your brain, right? Talk to me about that entrepreneurial, visionary, beautiful thing that you have going on that will make you go out and chase squirrels.
So feature creep in my brain, I would relabel that. I think, so I am always, always, always asking myself the question, and the more powerful questions you ask yourself, the better answers you get.
True.
And I'm always asking myself, how do we add more value for our clients? How do we do more than anybody else in the marketplace? How do we make our services better? How do we get them even better results? So I'm always trying to improve, because one of the things I found is we have clients who have been running one of our core process, the one that you are doing right now. We have clients who've been doing it for years and years and years. Since we invented it, they were our first clients, and they're still with us 5, 10, 15 years later, because it works and it will keep working. However, we lost a client earlier this year who had been with us 4.5 years and said, I got no problem with you guys. It works every week. Every time I do it every week, it works. I love it. Why are you canceling? I'm bored. I don't want to do another weekly call, even though it makes me money. I'm bored. I've done a couple hundred of these. I'm good. I've gotten it. I don't need, you guys are doing great. It's always worked. I want to go do something else. And I said, crap, he got shiny object syndrome. So I said, how do we make it so our clients never get tempted to go anywhere else and never get bored? So it started last October, was my internal innovation project, which was at least every 90 days. I'm trying to invent something new, whether it's a new feature, a new benefit, a new add-on to what we have, that I can go back to our clients and go, check this cool thing this new cool thing we came up with. We're adding it on at no extra charge. Congratulations, you've got it. And I keep adding new things, and I've never had a client go, stop, you're doing too much for me and not charging me any more money, right? Sure. Sometimes I get that, I can't keep up with you. I'll pass on this one. Let me know about the next one. I'm overwhelmed already. But I've had people send me emails going, I have a man crush on your brain. Like, how do you keep coming up with all of this stuff? And I love watching the way your mind works. So I am always figuring, if I can come up with something new before they get bored, they'll go, oh, I don't have to look anywhere else. I don't have to click on someone else's Facebook ad, because I know Seth either already has that, is working on it, or is ahead of it.
That's awesome and true, because I do receive a lot of that innovation, those innovation communications. And I just bought another thing that we need to launch right now. So yeah, it's pretty awesome what you're doing. So if I'm a new entrepreneur, I want to get into the marketing space, right? And everybody that wants to get into the marketing space has had some experience. They've been agency side, they've been client side, they've been doing the thing. They think that they've invented a better mousetrap. Now what? What's that first step that you think a new entrepreneur needs to take?
I think, and the 50%, what I've found out is 50% of the success or failure of your business will come from this factor, which is, who is your target market? So spend half your time starting that new business figuring out who is that starving crowd that you want to serve before you ever think of what you want to sell them. Fall in love with that micro niche laser focused target market and gear everything you do towards them. You can always expand later, but I would start with pick one target market, one offer to make them, one form of media to reach them, and do that. Tap all the gold in that niche before you go start getting shiny object syndrome and worry about all of the other potential things that you could do.
Fascinating. So you would niche it first.
Yes, absolutely. It is the biggest factor on whether your business or any individual marketing campaign succeeds or fails. Because I could take a lousy marketing campaign and aim it at the exact right target market and it'll work. I could take the world's most brilliant marketing. I mean, if your target market was 80-year-old arthritic widows and you did a TikTok ad on how to run a marathon in 30 days, it will completely fail. It's the wrong message, the wrong media, and the wrong market.
Mm-hmm.
But if I send an ad in Quilter magazine to those 80-year-old arthritic widows, and I have a new quilting system that your arthritis fingers won't hurt if you use this magic quilt needle. And I don't know anything about quilting, which is probably obvious, but if you use this magic quilting needle, your arthritis won't hurt and you can quilt for hours. I will probably sell it, a lot of them.
Yeah, true. Interesting. So like I'm getting pops of Mike Michalowicz and I'm getting Hormozy and all that sort of stuff blowing up in my head with the niche. It's interesting that like playing back my entrepreneurial journey, I now understand why, because of what you just said, I understand why some of my ventures took a little bit longer to get going because I went at it with product first. I did the classic pain money decision.
Yeah.
Without the micro niche.
All good. And I understand that is totally normal. That's the way most of us approach it. And I would tell you that, yes, Mike's been on my show, Huge Profit First fan and Fix This First fan. Yes, no, Alex Hormozy, had a conversation with them about potentially acquiring part of our company last year. So all of the folks that you follow or watch are probably either podcast guests or now, thankfully, colleagues or friends of mine. So that's the cool part. Like, it's a pinch me moment. Like, I grew up in the business, like running to the back of the room at a Dan Kennedy or Russell Brunson or whatever event to buy their course or a Jay Abraham course. And now they're friends, colleagues, clients. They like Jay Abraham texted me a question the other day. And I said, holy crap, did you really just ask me something? Like, this is awesome.
That's so awesome. Yeah. It only takes 17 years to become an overnight success, Seth.
Amen. 100%.
It's amazing. It is so cool what you're doing. And this was awesome. This is really going to help some entrepreneurs. I think if you get your contract sorted and you micro niche where you're going, right, those two things in combination are going to get you paid and get you more successful. And
hopefully, yes, that is the goal.
Well, because what are we looking to do here, right? We're looking to help at least one entrepreneur. If we help one entrepreneur, I hope that entrepreneur that gets helped sends you an email.
That would be awesome.
And
I
says,
would love that.
Hey,
we make a difference in one person's life. It's worth it, right?
Hell yeah. Absolutely, buddy. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being so open and telling us about six-figure whoops, because that's super important. And I'm super grateful for you helping and sharing, my friend.
I'm super happy to be here. Hopefully we inspired or helped someone, and keep doing what you're doing. Obviously we're biased, but your show is one of my favorite shows.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate that. And with that, this concludes this week's episode of Founders Dinner Podcast. For those looking to connect with Seth Greene, his link is going to be in the description. And this is Stas Balanevsky signing off. See you all next week.
That's a wrap on today's episode of Founders Dinner. Stories of entrepreneurial wins, losses, and lessons. Once again, we've journeyed through the inspiring and challenging world of entrepreneurship with Stas Balanevsky, uncovering stories that illuminate the resilience and adaptability at the heart of success. Each narrative shared today is a testament to the unyielding spirit of our entrepreneurial guests, providing lessons in courage and determination. We hope these stories have not only entertained, but also inspired you. Whether you're taking the first steps in your entrepreneurial journey or are a seasoned leader in the business world, Founders Dinner is more than just a podcast. It's a community of learning, inspiration, and connection. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast for more insightful episodes and join our vibrant LinkedIn community to continue the conversation, share experiences, and connect with like-minded entrepreneurs. Until next time, keep embracing the entrepreneurial journey. This is Stas Balanevsky, thanking you for being a part of the Founders Dinner family. See you at the next dinner.